We're back again on Lutherans Alive with Pastor Julia Fraser, chaplain at Bethesda Children's Home in Meadville, Pennsylvania. Julia, thanks again for being with us today. Before the break, we were talking a little bit about the relationship that develops and hopefully is sustained between congregations and social institutions like Bethesda. And you were mentioning particularly times like Easter or whenever when the churches are able to find opportunities to support and maybe even improve the relationships that they have with a place like Bethesda.
Well, having just celebrated Easter, we're grateful to the congregation in Northwest Pennsylvania that brought us 76 Easter baskets
Oh, great.
on Good Friday, but then also stayed and had lunch and joined with our residents for the Good Friday worship service, which was really almost a nicer gift than the Easter baskets. Holidays are a hard time at a residential placement facility because inevitably some residents are able to go home for home visits, and we're really glad for them, but not everybody gets to go, and some people are left behind. And while I tried to tell them we'll do our best to make it a happy experience, there's still a hole in their hearts not being able to be with family and to have that long-awaited home visit. So people can really help and do help a lot with that kind of thing. In fact, an interesting connection with the Southwest Pennsylvania Synod, and I hope I can get the name correct. There was a group of young people that had participated in a Lutheran youth leadership program. I'm thinking it was Youth in the City or something in the city.
That sounds right.
That still continued to be active after their camp experience was over. And a year ago at Christmas time, one of the young women involved contacted with me and made arrangements for a small group of them to come up during the Christmas holiday to lead games, to lead a brief worship service and serve ice cream sundaes to those that were there. I was really highly impressed by their willingness to do it, to give up a day of their Christmas vacation as well, and the great way that they carried it out. And that kind of giving of self really means a lot to our residents who are teenagers. They like to have fun. They like to see new faces. And it was a really nice connection between young people from your synod and our residents. I think a year ago, during the Southwest Penn Synod Assembly that's held up in our territory at Teal,
At Teal, yes.
They were trying out the idea of a young adult convo, kind of similar to the youth convo. And for the young adults that participated in that, they came up to Bethesda for a day to take a tour, to talk with our personnel person about the different kinds of employment that are available, available at a social ministry agency such as ours. Of course, there's always a big need for child care workers and counselors, but it's really much more broad than that. And then they took part in an activity with the residents. I think they had a volleyball game. And that was a really nice opportunity for us to kind of explore a new way of introducing people to the campus. And we were really glad for that. This past summer, we had a summer-long program on the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. And as a part of that, the Global Mission Committee came up and brought the Global Mission bus, which was just so tremendously cool.
Our own wheels to the world.
Yes, and had 3 or 4 different activities that talked about poverty and need and different ways that the church was at work addressing that. And that was a really powerful program. And whenever we can provide something like that, that's the kind of activity that young people are supposed to be involved in, you know, that help expand their understanding of the world, that helps them learn a little bit more about themselves and how they could be a part of something good. That's a great thing.
Yeah, I think those are some wonderful examples from both sides. One, that young people who are a part of our church, who will in fact be or are becoming leaders in the church of today, have that opportunity to have that groundwork, that foundation laid for them, so that as they continue to grow and become involved in the church, they have that experience and that understanding of the ways the church interacts with the world and where we can be the blessing and the benefit there. But also, as you say, then for the young people who are a part of the program at the home at whatever time, to be able to see their opportunities, to be able to be more than they see themselves, or to understand a way that they can connect with the needs of the world. Both can be very, very valuable experiences. As the chaplain, is that part of your role in terms of encouraging visitors to come, programs to be brought that can be shared with the folks that are at the home?
I really try to do a lot of that. If you can imagine, I kind of carry out a parish education ministry with no parish education committee. When our residents take part in an activity, their staff is along with them, but their staff is there for a particular role of supervision and really helping them to be able to function well within that activity. And so I can't have them running and helping me carry out an activity, and that's where I call on congregations, whether it be a small group within a congregation, a youth group within a congregation, just an individual who can come and help to be able to facilitate whatever it is that I have in mind for that day. And I think I've gotten pretty good about talking with people and assessing what their comfort level is, what they're willing to do, what I need to provide for them, so that they feel comfortable in whatever role of leadership they're in, and then kind of providing the necessary program materials to take part. And it's, I think, most of the time a win-win situation on both sides for the kinds of things you were talking about earlier. It's always good for our residents to have contact with other people, and I think usually it's really good for people to come and to see and experience for themselves that particular ministry that the church is carrying out.
I would guess at a place like Bethesda there are also guidelines, normal boundaries, so to speak, for the daily life together. Is there much that might get in the way of folks that are coming from the outside? You know what, I'm starting with a question and I'm getting a sign that it's time for another break.
Okay.
So let's take the break, and when we come back we can talk a little bit about that set of boundaries or expectations that are there for when folks come to visit.
Sure.
We'll be right back to answer that.